when you're writing, when you write a paragraph, the first sentence is always, here's what I'm gonna tell you. So when you put a slide up, you kind of want to say, here's what I'm gonna tell you. This is what the slide about. Takes 10 seconds. And then you talk about what's on the slide. And at the end, then you need a bridge to the next slide. Here's what I just told you. And now, here's the next thing I'm gonna tell you with some bridging concept thought or something like that. And that really just helps people understand the flow of the presentation. I felt like that was missing, in part maybe because there are 7 people doing the presentation, but still I think that's an important part. But definitely always speaking to the non-expert audience. I've written a number of NSF proposals, and even though I know the people reading them are mostly experts, not everybody knows everything, and so bringing those other people along who may be decision makers is important.
No, I'm so incredibly impressed with your presentation skills. I think you all did an excellent job, and thanks for letting me be a part of it. My only comment is, and I'm the one who has not even surface knowledge of what you just presented. So this slide I think is great. I think when you pulled the stock PowerPoint footage of the guy in the cave, you know, flying over the competition, made me a little perturbed. Just it was stock footage. I think there was a more elegant way to do that. So just be careful when you're doing the rest of your presentation was so technical, and I appreciate the levity. But sometimes be a little more cognizant of how can I beef this up from a elegance level, I think.
My only feedback is, you know, you're going to get hard questions whenever you do. I mean, you were briefing a $1.3 billion program, right? So you're going to get hard questions, and you aren't going to know the answer to them all, and that's okay. But an important skill is to be able to take the question you don't know the answer to and say, oh, that's a very good question. You know, I'll take an action to find out and get back to you on that. That's much better than trying to dance around the fact that you don't actually know the answer to the question, because you can't know the answer to everything. So it's important to learn how to take those kind of questions. But yeah, I recognize that's an important question, and we don't have the answer to it, and we will find out.
Oh, you only heard it 5 times, but I was very impressed. Very much impressed. Several things. Number one, trivial thing. Sitting here in the audience, hearing words like as much as you want, not a good statement when I ask you about the capacity. Well, there's a finite amount of capacity. Don't use the word cheap. It's less expensive. It's cost effective. It's just some of these language words you should use or not use. Completely accurate. Nothing is completely accurate, as you physics majors know. So those absolute terms are not good use of the language. Only is not a good term to use. The body language, you guys, was outstanding. There was no fidgeting, no pacing, no distraction whatsoever. I don't know who taught you this, but it was outstanding. What Dr. Hill brought up was the ground site. In the North Pole, yeah. Another thing about ground sites is their location is critical, down to the exact millimeter where they're located, because that's part of your OD process, knowing where you're taking information from. So you really need to be aware of the ground sites, the locations are critical, where they are. The videos, I have found that people respond to videos more than they do numbers. It's usually a good thing to say what you're going to see is this, and then show the video. So they're prepped to know what they're going to see. That's about it, I guess. That was about it, other than the end-of-life cost. There's always an end-of-life cost. To shut down your systems, to take away the hardware or whatever. So I guess we didn't really talk about end-of-life.
We studied it in the class quite a bit, but we didn't have it in the presentation.
Right, so there's always that.
Oh, that's a minus feedback.
So, so that's the only thing. Oh, that was another one. Many times in the audience, it's both good and bad. Many of the questions asked by people in your audience is to show off their knowledge. not ask you for the information. So a lot of times they'll know the answer. They're asking you to see whether or not you know the answer. So again, if you don't know, I'll research that. But many times they know the answer. So if you bluff it, that's a real negative.
Like the trades for the ground terminal?
Yes.
Yeah. I was wondering why you asked that after you showed the slides.
Or having the antennas point. You hadn't thought of that. Say, whoops, that's a good concern, we'll look into it. Because you threw in the Monias at the end as a backup. But those terminals are expensive, because you've got to point them. That requires a whole bunch more software. But again,
All right, thank you so much. I think they have something for you, so. Over to you.
Great, yeah, we can hand out little notes for each of you. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out. We really appreciate getting some, especially
Thank you.
some very, we like it.
she might be here yet.
No, there's no money, sorry. This was a pro bono.
Oh, not to see you.
Not this, yeah, we didn't know you were venturing across the hall, but thank you.
May I ask a quick question? When I came in the other day, just to take a quick photo, I asked you why you were taking this course. Has it changed your mind with regard to your career ambitions or?
I think it's, at least for me, it's convincing that, that engineering is a viable career path for me. I didn't really know anything about it before, so now I've got some experience in it, kind of, and just an overview of what a day in the life of an engineer would be like, or at least a systems engineer. So definitely intrigues me.
Kind of a take on that. Pretty much verbatim.
I think it made me more excited. I mean, I was pretty sure I was going to do engineering and apply to grad school for it. So I think it really makes me want to do it more.
So 2012, I was perplexed. Remind me again what you're doing.
So I'm just kind of sitting in on the class.
Okay.
I graduated in 2012, so I'm alone.
Good, good.
So the class gave me a lot of good information, kind of showed me what it's about. I'm still undecided what
Mhm.
I want to do with my career path, but I think it's a good option.
But you felt like it was a good
Something definitely to
overview of-
consider.
Okay.
I'm interested. This class was perfect. I was questioning whether or not I should take it. It'd be nice to stay home for a little bit more. But then I came here, I took the class, and no regrets. I definitely am more interested in engineering, definitely want to take it. So I'm much more certain about what engineering is, what people do in engineering, and I'm much more certain that they do want to take it.
I initially thought I could be an engineer at some point, I would want to pursue that, and then I started taking physics classes here, I was like, oh, engineering's gonna be boring, I don't want to do that, I just want to do physics. But then this one, getting it really from an industry point of view is just it's super exciting, it really.
It wasn't boring for you.
Oh, no, not at all, no, yeah, this has totally changed my mind about it, and I'm planning on now doing dual bachelor's degrees, one for science, one to BS in engineering, just because I want it, that's something I want to pursue now. So,
Great.
it's
Yeah,
really-
that's the question, what would you want? What other sorts of information would you like to be presented in a course like this? That was lacking, or not necessarily lacking, but something additional that you would want?
Maybe something specifically with tools. That is, I mean,
Yeah, tools.
that's hard to do unless you had an entire course designed to learn a tool. But maybe slightly more.
Little math playtime.
Yeah, yeah,
Play
just a
time.
little bit of
Just get a flavor
introduction
for it.
to concepts of it, you know, because
Would
I've
this
got-
fly as another format is to try to do it as a whole block course, which is something I was gonna ask you about. I mean, would give you more time to do.
I think that would be a great idea.
That would be
Yeah.
an awesome block, whole block course.
And there's BAR is doing a lot with Engineers Without Borders right now too, and they're getting meetings on campus. They used to be all downtown that you have to take a car to, but it's getting a lot more incorporated with the student body. So I think there would be definitely a lot of interest in that too.
Maybe math, physics, tool usage, and then another tool, then more math. So one of my concerns with this, or with the tools, is that you have to know the physics behind it. Like I mentioned, SDK will do anything for you, but if you don't know what it's doing, you can really go down the wrong path. So maybe the physics first, a bit of math, then apply it to a tool, get the results, see how it works.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, that would be good. I think that would make it, you can get a lot more depth if you play with the tools, but it would also require like more progression to the class. And I think it's like, this class is really good at like, showing people what it's about, whether they're interested in it.
I I have no idea engineering involves so much communication skills. It doesn't increase or decrease my interest in engineering, but it's given me an insight into this industry.
And who's the other freshman?
I am.
You are? Okay, so there were not any prereqs for this class, is that
Yeah,
correct?
No prereqs.
We debated it and we decided,
Uh-huh.
I think, in our conversations, we wanted to make it as open as possible. So I took out all the technical depth to make it work.
And do you guys feel like that was, you felt like you were on a similar level with your peers?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. It seemed like none of us really knew, like some of us knew the science and math behind it, but none of us really knew the business end of it, which is what a lot of this class ended up being. And so if you required like an economics course or something, it have seemed like you were out of place.
That's great.
There's also a lot of critical thinking skills, which is pretty general to all have across the board, just different application.
Was there any part that was harder for the two freshmen? Did you guys feel at a disadvantage at all, not having any of the background yet?
For me, it's like the technical thing is not, it is a problem, but not as big as like the communication skill I'm not quite capable of, but that's just my personality.
It's a good life skill, though.
No matter what.
Regardless,
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah. Any business you go into, better communicators are better at that job.
And in summary, your communication skills, the presentation there was just outstanding. I mean, seriously, I was the one to comment, I work for the government, hate to admit that, but.
We all have our faults.
I spend your tax money. But I think on the whole, you are better than most professionals I have to deal with. As far as your presentation skills and the way you gave this information, really was outstanding. I mean, you guys are in college yet. You're doing better than most of the professionals I work with. Great, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, does that have anything to do with liberal art education or?
Yes, a lot. Yeah, I graduated from here too, and I had a lot of little arts, and all of them. Nothing I have learned I have not been able to use. And I went for liberal arts, sociology and all the rest of it, and yes, I used it all. So I much prefer liberal arts education.
One of the first days, one of the first things we brainstormed was pros and cons of liberal arts education for engineering. And there are a lot of cons. You don't know the tools very well. You haven't run the equations 100 times when you go and do a stress analysis for the first time. You've never even touched MATLAB or a CAD tool or anything like that. But my opinion in hiring is the pros far outweigh it. They can speak to humans. They have context. They understand why it matters. The thing that they're building in context to the world, in context to the mission. They're much easier to put in front of customers, liberal arts educated people, because they can communicate at lots of different levels, talk the deep technical aspects, but also bring it up to a level for a 4-star general or for a CEO of a company who may not be technically as savvy. And I think there were some others that you guys all came up with as well. It was funny, independent of that conversation, Maria came in, Maria Grunman, class of 2000, I think, or 99, 2000, came in with a similar opinion from her own entrance in as a liberal arts educated engineer. Some of you had some similar as well.
As a comment, one of the key words I heard here was used, analytical thinking. That is the core. That's one of the most important things you'll come learn here at Colorado College, is analytical thinking. And most people don't even know what the term means. So congratulations again. That's critical. Asking the next question is always another question. Always another path to follow. And it's that critical thinking that's really the key to it all.
I think you all just heard these guys talk about how they feel about the liberal arts. Please use those connections when you're looking at your careers. Reach out. I meet with CC alums every day. You know, when they're talking about how do we advance the mission of CC and of the liberal arts, reach out to people. You know, even if you've never met them, cold call. You all are all confident students. reach out to folks and say, I graduated from CC, I'm interested in this, can I sit down and talk with you about it? Oh, you have a connection with somebody over here, can you help me get in? Use this group of people, these 4 folks, these 5 folks, and help leverage that advantage. Please. They're anxious to help.
That's why I'm here. That's why Maria came in, that's why Steve came in. We're all passionate about making sure you guys are successful. Helps our brand. Right? It's all about branding.
Now you share degree, doesn't it?
You bet. Well, you guys still have some class assignments to finish before you officially graduate from the class. So, before you guys can walk out of here today, I need to see your grades for each other, and I need to see your class evaluations. And I need a copy of the final presentation. What's that?
Yeah, I give it up.
Yeah, see, I'm not familiar with that software, sir.